I'm News for Jackson Chief Meteorologist David Heckard. This week is Hurricane Preparedness Week, and today's topic is about what to do when a storm begins to threaten. And the two big words are take action. It is time to get going here when a storm begins to threaten the area. Don't wait until the watches in the mornings get going. The first sign of potential trouble, you want to go ahead and start enacting some of your hurricane plans. One of the biggest plans is, of course, boarding up and protecting your home. You want to protect those windows, exterior doors as well, like garage doors. Make sure they are secure in the event a hurricane or large tropical storm impacts the area. We also want to make certain that if we're evacuating, we're unplugging electrical appliances like TVs and radios. And if you live in a flood-prone area and you're going to have to evacuate, you also want to unplug the major appliances like refrigerators and freezers. You also want to follow instructions by emergency management and law enforcement in an evacuation zone. There is a chance they may ask you to turn off your water, electricity, and possibly even your gas before you actually depart for the venue itself. The other thing you want to look at is shelter options, and be sure to consider your pets. A lot of times pets are kind of the forgotten ones here. We'll make sure they have food and supplies for at least 3 days, and be thinking about multiple shelter locations. The hotel you're planning on going to may be full, so you need to think about friends and family and inland locations that you could go to. Try to think of more than one in the event they fill up their particular home as well. The other thing we're talking about, of course, is readying supplies. Now, hopefully you already have a hurricane supply kit ready to go, but once the storm begins to threaten, it is now time to kind of complete that hurricane supply kit. And be sure to think of things that you may not be off the top of your head. In addition to food, we want to do things like chargers, hygiene products. If you have prescription medication, be certain you have enough pills to get you through the storm and part of the recovery, because your local pharmacy may be closed. We also want to help our neighbors and elderly. Be sure if you have friends and family around in your neighborhood, ask them if they need any issues. Elderly people may have a difficult time completing the supply list, and you also may have to help elderly people evacuate. So be sure to ask them and make sure that they're prepared for the storm. And finally, and probably the most important thing, be sure to evacuate if you are given the order. This is very important. Do not wait until you see how the storm is playing out, see whether the storm is intensifying or weakening. It's important the first time you hear those evacuation orders to get out, because keep in mind the worst of the storm can begin hours, in some cases upwards of a day, before the center circulation arrives. Oftentimes in flood-prone and coastal locations, that means your way out can get completely flooded out, and then you have to ride out the storm in a very precarious position. So again, with Hurricane Preparedness Week, we want to get going on some of these actions the first time a storm begins to threaten southeast Georgia and northeast Florida. I'm Assistant Chief Meteorologist David Heckard for Channel 4, the local station.